Hello my dear class 6 students. Today our chapter is digestive system. It is the first chapter of our unit 2 session, and today we will learn about the human digestive system. So today in this one video I will discuss the whole chapter. So I suppose that the video will be little bit lengthy, so you just keep patience. You are requested, everyone is requested to keep patience and learn the content of the chapter with full concentration and watch the full video for the better understanding of this digestive system, human digestive system. Okay, so let's start. So here we know that suppose a car, the engine of the car is it's like a machine. The car is like a machine. How the car runs? It needs petrol. We give petrol, after that the car can run. In the same way, our body is like a machine. The human body is like a machine which needs some fuel to run. The body needs fuel. The body needs fuel to do any work and to survive. Without that, without the fuel, the body will not work. We cannot live. So what is the fuel that is needed by the body? That is food. In the car, what is needed? Petrol is needed to run the machine. But here the machine, that is the body run by the fuel, that is food. Okay, so in this way, living organism is totally dependent on food. If we don't take food, we cannot survive. Now the food which we are taking, this food has to be utilized by the body. The food which we are taking, that has to be utilized properly by the body. That is about our digestive system, that how the food what we are taking, actually the food what we are taking, these are in complex form. The food which we are taking, generally these are in complex form. The body cells, you know about the cells. In our previous chapter we have learned the structure and functional unit of the body is the cell. So the body cells cannot accept the complex form of food. For accepting the food by the body cells, the food has to be converted into simpler form. The food has to be converted into simpler form so the body cells can take the food, and that is known as digestion. That is complex food, nutrient, complex food, they will be broken down and they will be in simpler form so the body cells can absorb them. That is about digestion. And in the human body, the organs, the organ system, some organs together make the organ system. The organs which help in this digestion, the organ system which help in digestion, that is the digestive system. This is the introduction of this chapter. Okay. Now I talk about the food. I told the food. Now the component of the food, are known as nutrients. The component of the food are known as nutrient. So a nutrient, you can define nutrient as it is the constituent of food, or it is the component of food that helps in body functioning. Okay, so the nutrients are mainly based on the function of the nutrients in our body. Food may be classified as 3 categories. These things I hope that you are learning from class 4. Still one time I am repeating that. First, you know the energy giving food. The energy giving food. And what are these energy giving food? Carbohydrates and fats. carbohydrates and fats are energy giving food. And you know the source of carbohydrates are rice, potato, corn, sugarcane. Fat sources are oil, ghee, butter. These are energy giving food because they provide energy to the body. They provide energy to do work. That's why they are energy giving food. Next is bodybuilding food. Proteins fall under this category of bodybuilding food and they help to build the muscles. Growing children need more proteins as their body muscles need to develop for development of the body, for repairment of the body, So this is the function of protein, bodybuilding food. And egg, fish, meat, these are the soybean, these are the sources of protein. Another one, number 3 is protective food. And vitamins and minerals. Vitamins and minerals are this kind of food. And leafy vegetables, fruit, these are the sources of vitamins and minerals, and they help to protect our body against various diseases. They help our body to resist the diseases and to develop an immunity against the diseases. And also minerals help in different functioning of the body, which are very important functions. So these are protective food, vitamins and minerals. So this is about the food nutrients. Okay, vitamins and minerals, protective food, they keep us healthy and disease free. Protein help in the normal growth, building of muscles, repairment of the body cells, and energy giving food gives energy to do any work. Okay, so this is about the different kind of food nutrients. Now we will come to the point of digestion, that how the food which we are taking, that has to be accepted by the body cells. And another thing to remember is that these carbohydrate, protein, fats, these carbohydrates, proteins and fats, they are needed by the body in larger quantities. Okay, they are needed by the body in larger quantities. That is why they are known as macronutrients. They are nutrients. Actually, nutrients means component of the food. So they are nutrient, and macro means more, large. Okay, as they are needed in more quantity. That's why they are known as macronutrients. But in comparison to these, the vitamins and minerals, they are not needed in that much quantity. They are known as micronutrients. And micro means, small. Micro means small. That's why these vitamins and minerals which are required in minute quantities, which are required in very small quantities, they are known as micronutrients. Okay, so this is macronutrient, carbohydrate, protein and fat, and vitamins and minerals, they are micronutrient. Now the process what I was talking about, that we are taking food. First we are taking food, and after we are taking the food is converted into the food actually in complex form. I told you that the food which we are taking, that is in complex form, but the body cells cannot take that complex form of food. So food has to be converted into simpler form. So this is the process where the food conversion into simpler form, So first we are taking the food, then the complex food is converted into simple form, and after that what is the next step? The food has to be absorbed by the body cell, accepted by the body cell, accepted and absorbed by the body, by the body cells. The body cells will absorb the nutrients, the simpler form. So this is the next step, and after that, where it is already absorbed by the body cell, that has to be utilized. What is absorbed by the body cell, that has to be utilized by the body for the energy or for growth or repairment, or what is not utilized, that should be stored in the body. That is the next step. That is the main motive of taking food, that it has to be utilized by the body, it has to be stored somewhere in the body. And what is not needed, all the things which we are taking, all the things are not needed by the body. So what is not needed, the extra part, the undigested part, that has to be eliminated. Elimination of undigested part. So these 5 steps, this total process is the nutrition. This total concept, this is the whole thing, that is nutrition. So nutrition is the process by which the organism is taking the food is converted into simpler form, the simpler form is absorbed by the body cells and utilized and stored, the digested part is utilized and the undigested part is eliminated. The whole thing is about nutrition. So nutrition actually has 5 steps. You can see these 5 steps. Now let's learn about the name. This taking of food, I'm talking about taking of food. We are taking the food by our mouth. By our mouth we take the food. This part is known as ingestion. That is, we are taking the food. So this is the first stage of nutrition. That is ingestion, where food is taken in the body through the mouth part. Okay, so this is ingestion. Next is the conversion of complex food into simpler form through the action of enzymes. Different enzymes are in the body. Different enzymes are present. Digestive juices, which in the book the name is digestive juices. These are actually different enzymes are there. So with the action of enzymes, these complex materials are converting into simpler material, and this process is known as digestion. Actually, this is the digestion. Digestion is actually the second step of nutrition. Okay, so this is digestion. Next is body cell will absorb. The digested food is absorbed into the bloodstream so that it can reach the body cells. This part is known as absorption. Okay, the digested food, the third stage of nutrition, where the digested food is absorbed into the bloodstream. Next is what is absorbed. The absorbed food material is utilized by the body to provide energy for the growth, for the repairment, for protection from diseases. That has to be utilized by the body. And some excess part that is stored in the body. This part is known as assimilation. Okay? And what is the remaining part? The undigested part, what is not absorbed in the body, that has to be eliminated. That has to be eliminated from the body. Unwanted things, undigested thing, not required by the body should be eliminated from the body. That is elimination of undigested part, that is known as egestion. E-G-E-S-T-I-O-N, egestion. So ingestion means intaking. Ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation and egestion. These are the 5 steps of nutrition. Okay, so this is about nutrition. Now we will learn that what is the process of digestion, what are the organs which impart in digestion the digestive system structure. Okay, so students, this is the diagram of human digestive system. This is the human digestive system. We take the food through our mouth. Through our mouth we take the food, and the food passes through the food canal. It is a continuous pipe-like structure. It is a continuous pipe-like, or you can say long tube-like structure. It starts from the mouth. It is known as food canal or alimentary canal. It is known as food canal or alimentary canal, which starts from the mouth and ends in anus. 2 openings. Opening for ingestion, that is mouth, and opening for egestion, that is anus, anal opening. Okay. So from mouth to anus, it is a long muscular coiled tube. You can see it is a continuous. There is no break in between. So from starting from the mouth up to the anal opening, it is a long muscular coiled tube, and it starts from the mouth and ends in the anus. This line is very important. It starts from the mouth, ends in anal opening. So this is known as alimentary canal or food canal. Okay. So this, what is the component of this? First is mouth. First portion is mouth, and in our mouth there are teeth and tongue. In our mouth there are teeth and tongue. After that, after mouth, this part is known as esophagus. This part is known as, you see this portion, this part, it is known as esophagus. After that you see this is stomach. It is the continuation. Okay, liver is not continuation. Liver is gland. Liver is a digestive gland. So after esophagus, the continuation is the stomach. After stomach you see this coiled portion. This is small intestine. After that, this portion, it is large intestine, and it is rectum, and the last part is anus. So this is the food canal or alimentary canal. Now there are some glands. Some glands are present which are the part of the digestive system. These are liver, pancreas and salivary gland. This is liver. It is a digestive gland. This is liver. This is pancreas. Okay. This part is liver. This part is pancreas. And in our mouth there are some salivary gland. In our mouth there are some salivary glands. The function of the salivary glands is to secrete saliva. Okay. So this is about the alimentary canal and digestive gland, which consist of salivary glands, liver and pancreas. Okay. So first part is ingestion, that is intaking of food. It starts from mouth. So our mouth is bordered by upper and lower lip. Our mouth is bordered by upper and lower lip, and the lips help in closing the mouth during swallowing. When we swallow the food, lips help in closing the mouth. And inside the mouth there are teeth and tongue. and they are also helpful in digestion. Food is taken through the mouth. This process is ingestion, as I told, and the food is broken down into smaller pieces and chewed by the teeth. First, what we take when we take the food, these are solid and large in their size. The food are large in their size. First, they have to be broken down mechanically. This physical process of breaking down of food, which is the first step, that is done by the teeth. The food is broken down into smaller pieces and then we chew the food. So this physical process is of breaking down of food, that is done by the teeth. Okay. Now let's see the types of teeth. What are the number and what are the types of the teeth? The role which is played by the teeth, it is known as mechanical digestion. So mechanical digestion that is done by the teeth. Mechanical digestion means here no digestive juices are involved. Only the larger size food is broken down into smaller pieces. From larger size, it is broken down into smaller pieces. This physical process is known as mechanical digestion. So when human have two sets of teeth in their life. Now we will discuss about the teeth. Human have two sets of teeth. First is milk teeth. Normally appear between 6 or 7 months of age. 6 or 7 months of age, the milk teeth appears, and milk teeth are also known as temporary or deciduous teeth. The first set called the milk teeth or the temporary teeth and consisting of 20 teeth. Milk teeth consist of 20 teeth where 8 incisors, 4 canines and 8 molars. We will see in our previous class we have learned that humans have 4 types of teeth: incisor, canine, premolar and molar. Incisor, canine, premolar and molar, 4 types of teeth are there, but in case of milk teeth, premolar is absent. There is no premolar in the set of milk teeth. Incisor, canine and molars. 8 incisors, 4 canines and 8 molars are there, and after a certain age these teeth fall off. These teeth generally fall off between 6 and 12 years of age. Generally between 6 to 12 years of age these teeth fall off and they are replaced by a new set of teeth. These milk teeth, they are replaced by a new set of teeth and which remain for the rest of the life. They are known as permanent teeth. They are known as permanent teeth which remain for the rest of the life. And 4 types of teeth are there. First one is incisors. Permanent teeth are 32 in total. Total number is 32. Permanent teeth 32 in number. 4 types of teeth are there. Incisors. First is incisor. Incisor in each jaw. And here total. We have 2 jaws, upper jaw and lower jaw. In each jaw 4 incisors are there. So total number is 4 into 2 equals to 8. Next is canines. Canines each jaw 2 in number. Total number 2 into 2 equals to 4. Next is premolar. Premolars in each jaw 4. Total number 4 into 2 means 8. And then is molar. Molar 6 in each jaw. So total number 6 into 2 equals to 12, and here you can see the total number is 32. Each jaw 16, and in both jaw it is 32 number of total teeth. Okay. So you can see here incisor, canine, premolars and molars. Incisor, this 1, 2, 3, 4. These are incisors. Okay. This is upper jaw. Suppose this is the upper jaw. Here it is the upper jaw. These 1, 2, 3, 4. These 4 are incisor. These 2 are canines. These 2 are canines. These 2 are canines. These are premolars. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. These are premolars, and here these 3, and here these 3. These are molars. Total 6 in number, 6 in each jaw, and in together 6 into 2, 12 in number. So you can see these 6 are molar teeth. And in this molar teeth, you see here the last molar teeth. The last molar teeth, these 2, that can be present in a human or may not be present. This may appear after a certain year, that is after 25 or after 30 age. This last set of molar teeth can appear, and this is known as wisdom tooth. This is known as wisdom tooth. Okay. See here. An adult human normally has 32, 16 in each jaw, but usually we have 28. The last molar on each side of the jaw is called wisdom teeth. The last molar on each side of the jaw is called wisdom teeth, and that can appear at the age of 17 to 20, or it may appear later, that is 25, 30, or in some people these wisdom teeth may not come out of the gums at all. That is in their total life they don't have any wisdom teeth. This is the last one. So this is the structure of the teeth. You can see this is the structure of incisor. It is canine, it is premolar and molar. Incisor is used for biting and cutting of food. Incisor is used for biting and cutting of food. Canine are used for tearing of food. Canine, premolar and molar, they are broad and flat teeth. They are broad and flat teeth, and they are used for crushing and grinding. They are used for crushing and grinding. So this is about the types of teeth. This is about the type of teeth in human body. Now let's see what is the structure of the tooth. Here it is a structure of tooth. The tooth is mainly formed of 3 parts: crown, neck and root. The top portion, that is the white portion which is visible from outside, the portion which we can see normally from the outside, the portion which is externally visible, that part is known as crown. That part is known as crown. Okay. After that portion, there is a constriction. This portion, this is known as neck. So this portion is crown. The middle portion, constriction, is known as neck, and the lower part, which we cannot see, which is embedded in the gum, which we cannot see from outside, the lower part that is fixed in the jaw, that is known as root portion. So these are the 3 parts of a tooth. Now let's see the layers of the tooth. The layer, here the white portion which you can see, this is made up of enamel. Enamel is the hardest substance in the body. The white hard layer which surround the crown is called enamel, which is the hardest substance in the body. After the enamel, this yellowish part you can see, this part is known as the dentine part. This part is known as this part is known as dentine part, and it is also hard substance and just below the enamel, and the function of dentine is to support the tooth. And after dentine, this portion which is made up of blood vessels and nerve, the soft part inside, the inside portion which has the soft material where blood vessels and nerve endings are present, this part is known as pulp. Okay, so 3 layers are there: enamel, dentine and pulp. So this is the structure of a tooth. I remember that in class 4 these structures, these parts one time you have read, and I hope that you can remember that. So this is about the structure of the tooth. Okay. Now sometimes what happens, some sugary or starchy food that gets stuck into the teeth, in between the tooth, some food materials may get stuck, and in this portion which got stuck in between the teeth, there bacteria comes, and bacteria live on the teeth surface and form a yellow colored layer that is known as plaque. Plaque. So what happens, the small pieces of food, you can see here, the small pieces of food get trapped between the teeth. The small pieces, listen to this, the small pieces of food get trapped between the teeth. Bacteria act upon them, and as a result what happens, acid is produced, and which slowly damages the teeth. As a result, bacteria comes here, acid is produced, and it starts infecting the central portion, that is the pulp portion, and it damages the teeth. This is known as tooth decay. It is known as tooth decay. And what happens, many times a mixture of saliva, food and bacteria begin to form over the teeth. This is known as dental plaque. Dental plaque, the bacteria in the dental plaque causes infection, inflammation and decay of the teeth, and it results in pain and bad breath. That is known as tooth decay. See here, acid is produced and which slowly damages the teeth, and it starts infecting the tooth pulp, and it causes toothache, that is pain in the tooth, and a foul smell, that is bad breath. Okay, so this is tooth decay. This is known as cavities. These are also known as cavities. Toothache can be very painful, and in that case you have to consult the doctor. In case of tooth decay and cavity, you have to consult the dentist. That's why we must take a good care of our teeth, because they last for the remaining part of our life, and we must take care of our teeth because it also adds charm to our face and our smile. So how we can take care of the teeth? One should brush the teeth twice a day, once in the morning and at night before going to bed. Twice a day we should brush our teeth, and we should eat, drink and speak during the day. This constant movement slows down the growth of bacteria. When you sleep at night, undisturbed bacteria can damage your teeth. So it is very important to brush your teeth before going to bed every day. Okay, so this is the importance of brushing. We must take a good care of our teeth, and you must wash your mouth after every meal so that the small particles cannot get trapped in between your teeth. So every food particle should be washed out. Every food particle should be washed out from your mouth. That's why you must wash your mouth after each meal very well. And avoid very hot and very cold thing, as this will irritate the nerve ending of the pulp. And chocolate, sweets promote growth of bacteria. Sugary substances, the food materials which are rich in sugar, after eating those, extra care should be taken, and you should wash the mouth very properly. After taking too much of sweet, or after taking ice cream, or after taking too many chocolates, you must wash your mouth very properly, very carefully. Okay, so this is about the taking care of teeth. And also some other things are there, that you should take calcium rich food, that is milk, curd and leafy vegetables which are rich in vitamin, minerals. So take a good diet for proper caring of the teeth. And if you face any problem, any toothache or any kind of pain in the teeth, then immediately you should consult the dentist. And also you can use the dental floss. Okay, dental floss, you know, it's a thread like structure which help us to clear the in between, in the middle space between the teeth, we can clear using the dental floss. And brushing should be done very properly, that is 2 times a day brushing. And also here in this up down motion, back and forth motion, inside from the top, as these molar and premolar teeth, these have a broad and flat surface, so these surfaces should be cleaned properly. So in this way, inside portion, from the top portion, the back portion of the teeth, and up and down portion, so these are the correct method of brushing the teeth. So in this way you should totally clean your teeth. This is the process of brushing. So in this way we can take care of our teeth. Okay, so this is about our teeth. Next is tongue. Another part of the mouth is our tongue. This is the tongue. The tongue is a fleshy muscular organ. It's a muscular organ. So what is the function of tongue? It helps, it manipulates the food while chewing. When we chew by the teeth, it helps in the process. It helps in speaking, and it helps in cleaning the teeth when food particles are stuck to it. So using our tongue, sometimes we can also clean our teeth. And it helps in tasting the food. It helps in mixing the watery secretion, the saliva. The salivary gland is present in the mouth. I told the salivary gland are present in the mouth. So tongue help in proper mixing of the saliva, that is the watery secretion. And here you see the taste buds are present. Taste buds are present on the tongue, and these portions help to taste the different flavors. Like bitterness, we can feel the bitterness in any food, we can feel by the taste buds present in the back side. The sour bud which are present on the 2 sides, the back portion. The salty taste can be felt by the taste buds which are present on the sides of the front portion. And the sweet taste of any food can be felt by us by the taste bud present in the front portion of the tongue. So in different positions of the tongue, taste buds are present which help us in tasting the food. Okay, so this is about the function of tongue. Now salivary gland. Actually the digestion, the first step of digestion starts from the mouth, and teeth do the mechanical process, the physical, the mechanical digestion, and after that the salivary gland. What is saliva? Saliva is a fluid. Saliva is a watery substance. Saliva is a fluid. It contains water, salt and slimy mucus, that is slippery substance, mucus. It also contains an enzyme that is known as amylase. Saliva contains amylase. This is the salivary gland. 3 pairs of salivary glands are present. 3 pairs of salivary glands are present. One below the tongue. Okay, one is just below the tongue, one pair. Second at the base of ears. At the base of ears. And the third one is inner side of the angle of the lower jaw. On the angle of the inner side in the lower jaw, the third pair is present. So one pair at the base of ear, another pair is below the tongue, and another pair inside portion of the lower jaw. 3 pairs of salivary glands are present. The function of the salivary gland is to secrete saliva. Saliva is a fluid which contains water, salt and slimy mucus, and another important thing is amylase enzyme. Amylase enzyme is present. And what is the function of amylase? See, the starch, what we take, the food we are taking, the carbohydrate complex, one complex carbohydrate is starch. When we take a piece of bread or boiled rice, when we chew that, it starts tasting sweet. First, when we take any piece of bread or any boiled rice and we start chewing that, it starts tasting sweet. Why it starts tasting sweet? Because there is starch in the piece of bread or in the boiled rice. The starch is present, and with the action of amylase, it is known as salivary amylase because it is present in saliva. That is why it is salivary amylase. This salivary amylase converts starch into maltose sugar. And this maltose sugar tastes sweet. That's why we get the taste sweet. Okay, so this is the function of salivary amylase. It converts starch into sugar. What is the type of sugar? Maltose sugar. So what is the function of saliva? First one is it moistens and lubricates the mouth cavity. Our mouth cavity, there is a moisture, there is water. This watery substance prevent our mouth from drying. This watery substance prevent our mouth from drying, and the main function is moistening and lubricating, and it cleans the mouth and destroys some germs and the tongue and it helps the tongue to make speaking and swallowing easy. And when we take food, in the mouth, the saliva bind to the food particles and make the food into a mass. Before swallowing, it is always recommended to chew the food properly by using our teeth. We should chew that food properly so that it can be broken down into smaller pieces, and this will help in digest the food properly. So this saliva, during this process, the saliva bind with the food particles and a mass of food is produced, that is known as bolus. Before swallowing, the mass of food is known as bolus. Okay. Now digestion begins in the mouth, and this saliva contains salivary amylase which help in breakdown of starch into maltose sugar. So these are the functions of saliva. Next is food pipe. So this part you can see here, this is mouth. In the mouth there are salivary gland. After that, this long tube-like structure, this long and narrow tube-like structure which run from the back of the throat, and down through the chest, and it opens in stomach. This is esophagus. It opens in stomach. This is the continuation of alimentary canal. This is actually the continuation of alimentary canal. So this is known as esophagus or food pipe. And no digestion occurs in the esophagus. It is just a channel through which the food passes into the stomach, from the mouth to the stomach, and food moves down through the esophagus by a special kind of contraction and relaxation movement which is known as peristalsis. So what is peristalsis? The esophagus is a tube-like structure or the channel. It's a muscular structure, and the muscles contract and relax. The muscles contract and relax, and because of this continuous contraction and relaxation, the muscle is like there is a elasticity in the muscular structure. There is a elasticity, so that when it contracts and relaxes, because of this continuous process, a wave-like movement is created in the channel. So, because of this wave-like movement, the food passes down in the stomach. Okay, so this is about peristalsis, and peristalsis occurs through the alimentary canal. This movement enables the food to be pushed downwards because of the peristalsis, that is because of the contraction and relaxation. Because of the contraction and relaxation of the muscles, there is a wave-like slow movement in the alimentary canal which pushes the food downwards, and this movement is known as peristalsis. Okay. Next is the esophagus opens in stomach. This is the continuation after esophagus. The stomach, you can see it's a bag-like structure. It's an elastic bag, and the walls are highly muscular. And in the stomach, there are some gastric gland. So now we will discuss the digestion process, what is occurring in the stomach. So in the stomach there are gastric glands, and in the gastric gland the juice which is secreted, that is known as gastric juice. The juice which is secreted by the gastric glands is known as gastric juice, and gastric juice contain water, hydrochloric acid, and an enzyme that is known as pepsin enzyme. Pepsin is an enzyme which acts on protein. So, what is the function of this gastric juice? As HCl is present, and HCl is an acid, so this acid kill the germ. This acid can kill the germ. So, killing the germ is one function of this acid, and whatever the germ which are entering in the stomach along with the food, and it prevents the rotting of food during its long stay on stomach, prevent rotting of food during its long stay in the stomach, and also it activates the enzyme pepsin. Activation of pepsin, and the pepsin is now activated. Now it will act. Now the pepsin is ready. It will act on protein. Pepsin will act on protein, and pepsin it converts the protein pepsin. So what is the location of pepsin? If I ask you that where pepsin is found, the answer is in the stomach. In the stomach, gastric glands are present. The gastric glands secrete gastric juice, and this gastric juice is made up of water, hydrochloric acid and pepsin. And then pepsin is an enzyme which acts on protein and it converts the protein into peptone. It converts the protein into peptones. Another enzyme is present here, that is renin. It is also present in the stomach. The milk protein is casein. Casein is a protein which is present in milk. It is milk protein. This renin acts on casein and it forms curd. The protein casein present in the milk is converted into curd by the help of another enzyme, that is renin. So this is the digestion in stomach. The digestion of protein begins in stomach. In the mouth there is salivary amylase which act on starch. We have learned that salivary amylase will act on starch, and starch is converted into sugar, maltose sugar. That is, digestion of carbohydrate begins in mouth. Digestion of carbohydrate begins in mouth, but digestion of protein begins in stomach. This is very important thing to remember. Now the food which is present in the stomach, it can remain there 3 to 4 hours, and during this time, see here, during this time the stomach also churns the food thoroughly along with digestive juices, that is mixes. It mixes and it forms into a pulp like paste which is known as chyme. That is, further digestion becomes easy as it is forming into a paste like structure which is known as chyme. Chyme moves into the first part of small intestine. The first part of small intestine is known as duodenum. It comes into the first part of small intestine. So this is about the digestion in stomach. Okay. After that, the chyme, the thick paste of food where protein digestion already began, protein is converted into peptones with the action of pepsin. With the action of pepsin, protein is converted into peptone. Now it's coming into the small intestine, and small intestine first part is duodenum. It is coming into that part. Now here pancreas and liver is also present. These are digestive gland. Pancreas and liver are digestive gland. In the liver, bile is produced. The juice which is, see here, it is the liver. You can see reddish brown structure, largest gland in the body. Largest gland in the body, situated on the right side of the body, produces a greenish yellow fluid. The greenish yellow fluid which is produced in the liver, that is known as bile juice. That is known as bile juice. Bile juice is produced in the liver. Produced in liver. It is produced in liver, but it is temporarily stored in gallbladder. It is temporarily stored in gallbladder. Gallbladder is also a tiny organ. You can see here this yellow, marked with yellow, this structure, it is gallbladder. Bile is temporarily stored here. What is the action of, what is the function of bile? Bile, the fat which is present in the food, the fat is broken down into tiny particles. The fat is broken down into tiny particles, tiny droplet. the fat which is present. Now fat digestion has not begun. I have told in the mouth carbohydrate digestion began. In the stomach protein digestion has begun, but fat digestion, now it is the first step where the fats are broken down into tiny droplets, and this process is known as emulsification. This is known as emulsification of fats. And these tiny droplets, these are known as emulsified fats. So this is done by the bile. The emulsification of fat is done by the bile. Bile juice produced in liver, temporarily stored in gallbladder, acts on the fat, and the fats are broken down into tiny droplet and form emulsified fat. This is known as emulsification of fat. This is the function of liver in digestion. Next, another gland name I have told you. This one. See here, this one. Pancreas. This is another gland, large leaf-shaped gland, and it secretes pancreatic juice. What is secreted by pancreas? Pancreas, another gland, pancreas. It secretes pancreatic juice. It secretes pancreatic juice. Pancreatic juice contains 3 enzymes: amylase, trypsin, and lipase. Amylase, trypsin and lipase. Now listen, amylase act on starch, trypsin act on protein, and lipase act on fat. This amylase, it acts on starch, and starch is converted into maltose. Amylase acts on starch, converting starch into maltose. Trypsin acts on proteins and peptones. Peptone is already produced in stomach. By the action of the enzyme pepsin, the proteins are converted into peptone. Now these peptones, this protein and peptones, trypsin act on them and forms peptides Now these are simple form. These are becoming simpler form. Lipase acts on fats, emulsified fat, because the fat is already emulsified. Emulsified is done by bile juice. The bile juice has already emulsified the fat. Now the lipase will act on this emulsified fat and forms fatty acids and glycerol. Fatty acids and glycerol. These are the simple form of fats. So this is the action of pancreas. This is the role of pancreas in digestion. Very important role. Now I told you the first part of the small intestine is duodenum. The first part is duodenum. So the liver, in the duodenum actually a common place where secretion of both liver and pancreas comes. That is the bile juice plus pancreatic juice. Bile juice plus pancreatic juice mixes in the duodenum. This is the common place. This is the common passage. Okay, it's a U-shaped upper part of small intestine, and further digestion continues. Further digestion continues in duodenum position. See here it is the small intestine. This part, see here, this is the duodenum part where secretion of liver and pancreas both mixes, and it is so that efficient digestion can occur here. Now this part, the small intestine has three parts. First part is known as duodenum, first part of small intestine. Second part is jejunum and third part is ileum. These are the parts of small intestine: duodenum, jejunum and ileum. Now duodenum, the first part, we have discussed about it. Next is second part of small intestine is jejunum. No digestion takes place here. This part, there is no digestion. Now the food moves into the last part of small intestine, this ileum part. And here it is important. This part is important because here the food is already semi-digested. Now it enters ileum. Ileum is long, narrow coiled tube. You see here, it is long, narrow coiled tube, and here intestinal juice is mixed. Intestinal glands are present. In the ileum, intestinal glands are present which produces intestinal juice. And intestinal juice has the enzyme erepsin, maltase, sucrase and lactase. Now see here in the ileum portion. Now come to the ileum portion. Ileum portion of small intestine, where intestinal juice is produced by intestinal gland, and this intestinal juice contains erepsin. Erepsin acts on peptide. Here the trypsin already converted protein and peptone into peptide. So food is already semi-digested. Now this peptide, erepsin, will act on peptide. And they will make amino acid. It is the simple form of protein. Amino acids. It is the simple form of protein. Now this in amino acid form, this can be accepted by the body cell. This can be absorbed. So what is the ultimate goal of digestion? That is conversion of the food materials into a simplest form so the body cells can absorb. So it can be absorbed by the body because it is the second part of nutrition. Our third part is absorption. So erepsin act on peptide and form amino acid. Okay. Next is maltase. Maltase act on maltose. Amylase. The pancreatic juice contain amylase. Amylase act on starch and form maltose. So here we are getting maltose. Maltase will act on maltose. Maltase is the enzyme name. Maltose is the substance name, and it will be converted into glucose, simple form of carbohydrate that can be absorbed by the body cell. So glucose, formation of glucose. Next, sucrose. Sucrose is another form of sugar, and sucrase, which is present in the intestinal juice. Sucrase act on sucrose and form glucose and fructose. These are also simple form of carbohydrates. Next is lactase. Lactase is present which will act on lactose. Lactase will act on lactose. This is also a kind of carbohydrate. Lactase acts on lactose and forms glucose plus galactose. So this is about the digestion in ileum, where you can see the ileum, there is intestinal juice which contains the enzyme erepsin, maltase, sucrase, lactase. Erepsin act on peptide, form amino acid. Maltase acts on maltose, form glucose. Sucrase act on sucrose, form glucose and fructose. And lactase act on lactose and form glucose and galactose. So we can see, as a result, ultimately digestion is completed. digestion is completed now. Now digestion is completed. The amino acid, fatty acid, glycerol, the glucose which are already formed here, these can be absorbed. These can be absorbed by the body cells. So now see here. This is absorption of, I told you, the third step of nutrition. As I told you, third step of nutrition is absorption. How it will happen? In the inner lining of the ileum, in the small intestine, the inner lining, that is the inner portion. If it is the small intestine tube-like channel, in the inner portion there are some finger-like projections. There are some finger-like projections. Okay, and these finger-like projections are known as villas, and in plural number it is known as villi. So these increase the surface area. This is the muscular wall, and you see these villas. Numerous villi are there. Numerous in number. These are the projections, finger-like projections, and these increase the surface area. What is the function of them? They increase the inner surface area, and in this way food is absorbed. The digested food. What is the goal of this digestion? That it can be absorbed by the body cells, so the body cells can accept the food, accept the simple form. So now this is done through the villas. The food is it increases the surface area, these finger-like projections, and each villus has a network of blood vessels close to the surface. So the food now goes to the bloodstream. The food goes to the food enters the bloodstream in the absorption. In the absorption, now the food has to be absorbed. The food comes to the bloodstream, and it reaches body cells. It reaches body cells. This is about the absorption. Vitamins and minerals, they are mainly soluble in water, so they can directly absorb through the walls of the small intestine. So the ileum of the small intestine serve function for both the digestion and absorption. Okay, in the ileum you can see the intestinal juice is produced, which has different kind of enzymes, so it is very efficient for digestion. And also the wall has the villi, which are the finger-like projections, and which help in the absorption of the digested food. Okay, so this is about small intestine. Now large intestine. Now fourth part is assimilation. As I told you, the fourth part of nutrition is assimilation. Assimilation means the absorbed food material has to be utilized. The food which is absorbed by the body cell, that has to be utilized, and the glucose, which is the end product of carbohydrate, that is required to release energy. The amino acid, which is the end product of protein, used for growth, repairing, and the fatty acids and glycerol, which are the end product of fat, they gives energy and act as reserves of energy and store for further use. So glucose is the end product of carbohydrate, amino acid is the end product of protein, and fatty acid and glycerol is the end product of fat digestion. These are very important. So these are utilized by the body, and I told you in the assimilation, I told you the fourth part is assimilation, where the stored food material has to be utilized, or that has to be stored in the body. The absorbed food material, the food material which is absorbed by the body cell, that has to be either utilized or has to be stored. So glucose, which is the ultimate product of carbohydrate digestion, amino acid, which is the ultimate product of protein digestion, and ultimate product of fat digestion is fatty acid and glycerol. These are these are in the process of assimilation. Okay, so this is the fourth step. After that, what is the undigested part? The part which cannot be digested by the system. What is the fate of that? Now next part, that is the continuation of our the continuation of the alimentary canal. The alimentary canal begins in the mouth, then esophagus, then stomach, then small intestine. Then after the small intestine, the part is large intestine. You see here, it is large intestine, which is made up of three regions: cecum, colon and rectum. Here this part is cecum, this part is colon, and this part is rectum. And after that, the opening, that is anus. Okay. So now, large intestine doesn't secrete any enzyme. It absorbs extra water from the undigested food. In the undigested food, the water is absorbed. Water is absorbed and it again comes back. Okay. So water is absorbed, and as water is taken, the undigested waste becomes semi-solid. If water is taken from a material, it will become, liquidity will decrease. Liquidity will decrease and it will become more solid. So this undigested part becomes semi-solid and it reaches the rectum. In the rectum, it is the last part, and from where water is absorbed and which has become semi-solid, that is known as feces. That it is the waste material of the body. It has to be eliminated from the body. So this is stored in rectum temporarily, and after some time or from time to time, it is eliminated from the body through this opening, that is known as anus, and this is known as egestion. I told you the elimination of undigested part is known as egestion. It is the process that undigested food comes to the large intestine, water is absorbed, and after much water is absorbed, the undigested waste material becomes semi-solid and temporarily it is stored into the rectum, and when the muscle relaxes, it is eliminated in the form of feces, and it is eliminated through the portion anus. Okay, and this process is known as egestion. So this is about the digestive system. This is about the process. This is the structure. Okay, so here it is about our chapter, and exercise all the question answers I have given, and you just write it in your biology copy, and 2 drawings practice well. I have given you the drawing to practice, that you must draw that in your biology copy. And one thing just I want to show you one time. See here, it's a flow chart only, nothing else. So food enters here, and after that it is mouth cavity. We take the food, that is known as ingestion, and food mixes with saliva. It helps in swallowing the food, and teeth break down the food and mix it with saliva. Mechanical digestion takes place here, the process ingestion, and also salivary amylase convert the starch into maltose. After that, there is a place, that is pharynx. Pharynx actually a common structure of digestive system and respiratory system. It connects the mouth cavity with esophagus. And it is a common passage for air and the food. It's known as pharynx. So from the pharynx, the food comes to esophagus, the food pipe. It is the alimentary canal. The food is going through the alimentary canal. Now stomach. In the stomach there is gastric juice. Protein digestion begins. Pepsin acts on the protein, forming it into peptones. And here from liver, bile juice, and from pancreas, pancreatic juice mixes. It poured down into duodenum, and food mixes with bile. Emulsification of fat takes place, and different enzymes act here. In the pancreatic juice, the 3 enzymes are present in the pancreatic juice, as I told you: amylase, trypsin and lipase. So they act on starch, protein and fat. Amylase act on starch, trypsin acts on protein and peptone, lipase act on emulsified fat, and further digestion takes place in the duodenum. Then it comes to jejunum where no digestion. So this duodenum, jejunum and ileum, these are the part of small intestine. From jejunum, the food passed into ileum where intestinal juice is secreted. Digestion continues. Intestinal juice, maltase, sucrase, lactase, ellipsin, these enzymes act on the food and complete digestion takes place here. Through the villi, absorption takes place. Absorption of food comes to the bloodstream, reaches the body cells, and after that, what is not digested, the undigested part, comes to large intestine. First, large intestine has three parts: cecum, colon and rectum. So in this colon part, absorption of water takes place. The undigested food becomes semi-solid, forming feces, and this matter is now stored in the rectum temporarily, and then it comes to anus and is excreted out from the body. So this is the flow chart of digestion. I hope all of you have understood that and read the chapter well. If you have any doubt in understanding any portion, or if you have any question regarding this chapter, my number is given in the PDF. In the working hour, you can contact me. So stay safe, study well. Thank you.